Good morning, everybody. This is Richard back at you. It's been a long time. A month has been way too long for us posting videos. But we finally decided to take some time and get away from this mess for a little bit because, believe me, guys, we got overwhelmed with jobs, out of control. But we got Miss Teresa at the camera again, like always, number one. And like I said, we decided to go to the mountains for 4 or 5 days, get away from the headache. Still taking care of my mom, so that's kind of been a little bit rough on us too. But anyway, we're excited to be back. We got Carl's 63 Pontiac Star Chief in the house, guys. Have you ever seen one of these? I haven't seen one. This is really cool car. He just purchased, I think he's had it for maybe a few years, I'm not for sure. But he put a 6.0 in it, 480E, turbocharged it.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Turbocharged. I think it made like 850 rear wheel horsepower. But he went through so many motors. I think this is the 4th motor that he went through being turbocharged because he didn't have any idea how to tune it. He couldn't find anybody to help him. And too bad he wouldn't have found me or Trent and Cody or Miss Teresa here to help him get that solved, because 850 in this car would have been a really fun car to drive and play with, a toy, I'm telling you. Look at the interior on this car.
But this one is a Star Chief.
A Star Chief.
What was that TP Toker?
It was a Catalina.
It was a Catalina.
Yeah,
this looks just
same
like
year,
that.
63 Star Chief, 63 Catalina. Remember the big blower sticking out of the hood on the other one? So
right.
This is a 4-door. The other one was a 2-door, I believe.
Oh, it was?
But look at the interior on this, all original. You can see the boost gauge over there. Now he does have a little pod there in the middle of the dash. That's how he tunes it, and it does do turbocharging and stuff too. It's just you really got to know how to work those. Anytime you put boost to something, the tune-up goes totally different. A lot of timing being pulled, fuel added to it to make up the tune-up perfect.
Right there? Is that the radio?
Where is it? Yeah, right here.
That's the radio?
That's the radio. Look at that.
Wow.
These cars are so cool. This is all original interior and in very good shape. Look at the...
Yeah, I think that's where it got the star. Yeah. Man, that door is so heavy looking.
Crazy.
Wow.
Now, what we've got going on here is, I'm not sure why the customer decided to pull the transmission out and rebuild it himself. So that's what we got going on here. Once he got the tranny in, no reverse. Well, once we had no reverse, and if you don't know how a tranny works or how it functions, you're pretty much at a dead end right there because you don't know what to look for.
That's crazy. Pontiac Star Chief.
Now you see the scoops? He made these, and the only reason why he did is because there's a hole here for the turbocharger under this one. You can see here he covered it. And this one he just doesn't have a hole, so he just made them to match because he can't find another hood for it. It's a little dirty, it's been setting. But this is a 6.0 here with a 480E transmission, non-turbocharged. Got the engine oil cooler here when it was turbocharged to keep the oil cool. So this is still a really neat car. I can't wait to get the tranny out of it and see what he did wrong for no reverse. Now, I'm not sure if he put all new clutches and stuff like that, but I was thinking he put Borg Warner clutches and seals, but he didn't have the tools to change all the seals in the drums and stuff like that, so we'll be putting the rest of the kit in the tranny that we have over here. He put a new converter in it, a stock torque converter. So hopefully it's not going to be a total overhaul, but we're going to tear it down and find out why it doesn't have no reverse. This car here is a head turner. I'm telling you, get out and drive it. People are going, ooh, what is that? So we're on our second SS Trailblazer. We got one out in the parking lot, and we got another SS Trailblazer sitting here that we're going to be doing. So we're coming back to a lot of jobs right off the bat.
They're falling from the sky.
Falling from the sky. You can kind of see it looks here they had to redo the frame here to get the 6.0 in there. It looks like they had to lengthen it and drop it down maybe a little bit. We do got an oil leak, I noticed, out of this drain fitting here. This is the drain right here for the turbocharger. The lube oil from the turbo falls back into the pan right here, and you can see that fitting's leaking. See, and that's what's been dripping on the floor. So that'll be something to easy fix for him. Got big old exhaust on it, custom cross member. They say we'll get the unit out and get it tore down and do a video on it trying to figure out why we have no reverse. This is going to be a really simple pull, I hope. I don't know why they weld them or bolt them. Okay, them are bolted, so they make it easy, but them SS Trailblazers, guys, let me tell you, if you ever get a hold of one of them, you'll wish you never had to work on one. Let me tell you, because they are really tough to get out. And then the one out inside, it's got a blower on it with stainless steel headers and stuff, so it was even tougher to get out. I don't think this one's been touched. I think it's got all factory exhaust on it and stuff. So
I know he's done with those.
I'm done with SS Trailblazers.
He's ready for something different.
I was shocked the gentleman just showed up here yesterday with this white one. And he said he's been looking for me from the shop in town, and of course he couldn't find me, and he got online and searched me where I lived and stuff and come out here and found me.
Because people don't realize we're not a business.
Yeah, we're not a business no more, actually. We're just working
in our residential
at our
area.
residential. We just got a big shop with all lifts and equipment and stuff in it, and everybody hunting me down to do their work for them. But we do a lot of stuff like this. The older cars that people don't want to take their cars to a shop in town. They don't want them around people. They'd rather me be here by myself doing all the work. That way they'll know their cars are getting really good taken care of. Cause,
yeah, but we've just been doing this for so long, Richie,
so long.
That people just, I mean, and we've lived in the same place for so
Forever.
long. If we wrote a book, it'd be very, very thin.
For sure.
It's that thick.
But I'm fixing to get on this and get it out real quick. That way we can get it on the bench, because I'd like to, today's Wednesday, probably about 10:30. I'd like to be driving this car by Friday by noon. Customer would come and pick it up. He'd be very excited to be out and go out and cruise this thing this weekend coming up. So that's one of my main goals. Well, anyway, we want to thank Miss Teresa for videoing, and we'll be adding the teardown video here shortly. Have a great day. How's everybody doing today? This is Richard back at you, sitting here admiring this 63 Star Chief. Have you ever seen one, Teresa?
Never.
This is a really crazy looking car. Cool, cool, cool. I was 3 years old when this car was made. Well, actually, I was born August the 15th, so maybe 2.25 years old. Depending on what month, too.
Yeah,
but
I wasn't thought about, so.
Huh?
I wasn't thought about before my time.
Before your time?
Before my
I don't even remember the car, actually. I don't think I've ever seen one, and that's odd too, because I'm 64 and I was born in 1960. But really cool, 6.0 swap 480 tranny. Customer, I guess tranny had issues or something like that, and he decided to rebuild it himself, and after he put it back in, he has no reverse. So we're basically going to take it apart and hunt for what he did wrong or why it doesn't have no reverse. We want to thank Miss Teresa for recording.
Number 2 to number 1.
Yeah. We got Miss Annie hanging out as always, let me tell you. Like I said, he didn't change all the seals. I think he changed all the clutches, red clutches, nice steels and stuff. So I'm kind of curious to see what we got going on.
Was there anything in the pan?
I didn't drop the pan. This in here actually had a drain plug, so I didn't have to mess with that part of it. But brand new torque converter, 6 lug. I'm not sure who makes this. I'm not familiar with the color. Pretty cherry fluid. Now I'm going to go through here and just kind of look at everything that they did. Lock up O-rings there. There you go. The front seal is brand new, maybe even a new pump. Looks pretty clean. I always glue my seals in though, that way I know for a fact they don't come out. But something I always do. Have our vent hose. And then we have our cooler line fittings. Since this is you can see here where the earlier style had the cooler line here and here. Well, in the later version, they moved it back here to the back. So this one here lubricates from the rear to the front, where the earlier design lubed from the front to the rear.
But any better design?
It's better design. You know, they changed a lot of parts on the inside. Actually, you know, this one here has solid shafts. The lube circuit goes through the bushings and stuff like that. With the earlier version, the shafts were hollow, and so I did make a weaker shaft because the fluid physically had to travel through the inside of the shafts to get to the front. So, or get to the rear. Excuse me. Anytime you have this type of rear lube system, the cooler line's in the rear, you better have an extension on this tube here. The center support is about that far away from the case, so if you put a fitting in there that doesn't have this tube, you're dumping cooler line flow right back into the pan. This has to go in there, and there's a seal down in here this goes into, that the fluid, the lube oil, goes in here and goes out like that. If that's knocked off, you run this dry, you're in trouble. We actually had a truck come in here a while back. We did a video on. They did that, and they didn't drive it very far because when they plugged the tranny and they pushed a pin out, and the tranny didn't shift, so they didn't drive it very far. And luckily, it didn't melt anything on the inside, because if you drive it like that, you're going to melt the planets right when you get on the highway with it. I left my 15 over here, Teresa. We lost our 15, guys. At least it ain't the 10. There's a video out there. These guys are playing pool with 10mm sockets. Have y'all seen that on the internet? They got them all racked up as little short 10s, and then he's fixing to hit the old 10 with the pool cue, and next thing you know, they disappear. He lost them all. Kind of a funny video. You got to watch it.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen that one.
This tail housing was leaking too. I did notice also that we had fluid coming out of this front speed sensor. It was dripping out here, and I did also notice that when I unplugged it, the connector had fluid inside here too. So it's definitely going to have a internal wiring harness, and these might not have O-rings on them. So look, this seal right here is what seals that to the case. I like to actually use that, but I actually like to put a little bit of sealant on here, like some silicone and stuff. That way when I put it on there, you get a double seal. Because that's probably a brand new O-ring out of the kit, and it did have a leak because I've seen it drip. It was running off the bottom right here. So now these tail housing bushings right here, they are pressurized. They don't get spray oil. A lot of trannies have an orifice like down in here that sprays oil towards the bushing. This here is actually have a pressure port that comes down through here behind this seal that comes over here to this little cut plug. If you notice down inside here, Teresa, you can see a little tiny orifice. See that hole right there? Can you see that little tiny hole up in there, guys? Well, that is a seal that seals to right here, and that goes all the way up to there and pressurizes that hole right there. So this has actually got pressurized oil on that bushing. You get a four-wheel drive, that'll be plugged. So if you use a four-wheel drive case, you're going to have to take this out and put one of these orifices in here because it'll have a plug there on a four-wheel drive. If you did a four-wheel drive, or took a two-wheel drive, put it in a four-wheel drive, and you left that open, it wouldn't matter because it'd drain right back into the case. So through this little hole right here. So it's not so much necessary, but it's not a big mistake. But if you did a two-wheel drive with a four-wheel drive case, then you're going to run your bushing dry because that has a plug right there. Now you have your seal right here, your O-ring for your yoke. That way your yoke won't leak out the weep hole in the back of it. This seal is very hard. I don't think it was replaced. Matter of fact, I know it wasn't. It's almost square. It's not even round anymore. See how it's flat? Couldn't get it off. But your yoke slides up on here, and your yoke on the end of it, instead of the splines going to the end, it's a machined area on the end about that big that this slides up on and seals the splines. We have our output speed sensor here. I mean, it's like I said, O-rings look old, so the kit should have new O-rings in there. They look clean, but normally these stay on there. They don't fall off like that. This one does look new, but it's got dirt. So when he put it in there, he could have got dirt under it and it started leaking, because it was leaking out right here. They are the same sensors on these front and rear right here, though. If you see, look here, you can see the counter for the rear speed sensor. You can see the forward, or the one right there, your input speed sensor. If I turn it, does it turn? Do that. So those sensors count those right there. Now, if it had a 4-wheel drive, this one could be missing, and it's going to be in the transfer case. So you have to remember that.
That's a big drain plug.
Yeah, and you take it out, it definitely drains.
It's like a massive bolt. Seriously.
Big torque socket goes in there.
Yeah.
Woo!
Well,
That kind of looks. I wasn't expecting to see that, but see if something smoked in here. Now you notice here we have a dimpled filter on the bottom. This is a deep pan filter. They also have a filter that has no dimples. You do not want to put a shallow pan filter on a deep pan because this neck can fall out. These actually set on the bottom of the pan and hold the filter up in there.
See it all the time?
And then another thing, we see a lot of people put these in with floor jacks and bend this up right here. Even if you can see they put these little ripples in there, that way it'll still suck fluid if you smash it, pan up into the filter. But let me tell you, that's not enough. So if you floor jack it and you smash it up in there, I've seen them come in where they bent the legs, they bent it all and smashed it up in there before. But we've seen a lot of crazy stuff. We have our pressure control solenoid, our TCC solenoid, put that off there. This almost, I don't think that's a new wiring harness. It's hard to tell. Got your pillow switch here. This basically pressurizes little switches in there and tells the computer what gear it's in. We have our shift solenoid A and shift solenoid B. You can't get them mixed up, the plugs are different. And then we have our rear lube tube. This tube right here is very critical. This is what pressurizes the rear case bushing and the tail housing bushing. We actually did one of these here the other day that they misstabbed this tube right down in here. They missed the hole right here. See that right there, guys? Oil comes from here, goes down here, pressurizes the back of the case for the case bushing, and then pressurizes the tail housing bushing. Well, they misstabbed that right there, so it wasn't putting any oil on the case bushing or in the tail housing bushing, but luckily they didn't drive it very far. We have our detent spring here. These are longer bolts here. Actually the same length, I believe, just different heads on them. See? One's an 8, one's a 10. And then you have your pillow switches. Each one of this is a little micro switch in here that'll click when I push on it. Now you can even feel them click. Now they do make a new version that has this covered up where metal don't get in here and short it out, because they do have issues with that sometimes. Trash getting in there. our valve body. I'm going to look for check balls. There should be a check ball right here. Okay, there's not one there. Should be one there. There's not supposed to be one here. Or excuse me, there's supposed to be, let me look at my book. I got a really good check ball book, guys. I want to show you this. I've had these books, excuse me, forever. You can see how old they look, but this is the best check ball books you can get. See, like GM 4L80E 24. Okay, let's go to page 24. It'll show you right there. So you can see here, this check ball's missing. He left that one out. These are all there, that one's there. There's not supposed to be one here. So this one here is missing, number 9 check ball. Let's see what it says it is. 9 is reverse.
It is reverse.
So, could we have an issue right there? We possibly could. But you got to remember, I think that check ball is just a feed for reverse. So if he left that check ball out, I believe all he would have would be a harsh reverse. It won't stop it from having reverse. Because you notice here, let me find it right here. That check ball is an orifice check ball. See how it's got a hole beside it? So that tells me there, if you left that check ball out, you're just going to get a harsh engagement. It's not going to stop it from having reverse. Of course, we have our accumulator body. These bolts are different than all the others. Kind of put them separately if you want to. Of course, then we have our 2 springs. A lot of times on overhauls, these come in melted completely, and you have to dig them out of there, get new ones. But you Scotch Brite these up, put some new seals on these. You want to make sure it's not bust or the pin wore out here. Same thing, Scotch Brite it up, put a new seal there, and then put your springs back in. Everything looks good there. Okay, let's check his gaskets and see what we got going. Make sure we have the gaskets in the right spots. Everything looks good there. So, you just always want to make sure. Okay, everything looked good there. And how you can really tell, see this little mini gasket? The mini gasket always goes to the top. Seals the accumulator body, okay? So, it's kind of hard to see what the gasket looks like. See, this gasket has it all. See? Of course, you're going to go through the valve body, check all your valves, clean it up, stuff like that. But we will be putting a Transgo shift kit in this, not so much for the shift kit, but for better lubrication, safety from high pressures, stuff like that. It just eliminates all that problem. We have our center support bolt here, and then we have our overdrive bolt here. This bolt here is hollow. Applying our overdrive clutch there, and you can hear here we're applying a clutch, and then we can apply another one too here. So, and then we can actually apply this, but it might. Whoops! Woo!
Woo! I'm glad I'm not standing there. I think it hit the.
That was about that big around.
It hit the
right.
camera. Yeah, I'm glad I wasn't standing there. Oh my gosh.
Let me wipe the camera for
Yeah,
really
you gotta
quick.
wipe
Okay.
that off.
Yeah, that would have been bad. We had to put her in her suit for that one. That's
Told
fine.
you, no.
I say you can see the oil in here. So we definitely want a new internal wiring harness. Yeah, you got lucky there, Teresa.
No, you got
That was a good one.
Yeah, you sure was.
We won't do that again. We'll get down here and just take it apart and see what we got. Now, there's going to be a gasket under this cover. Also comes in your kit. We have an O-ring here. Have 2 O-rings here. Spring. Grab this, make sure this doesn't wobble real bad, because if it leaks around here, that's no good. We have our engine braking band servo here, applies the band. And then you can actually go right in here, and there's your band. Right there. I actually have a special cover that I use to check my band clearance with this hole in there. I can check it that way and get my distance to where I want it set at, if I have to grind on my pin or if I have to TIG weld on my pin to get my band set right. Big old long bolt, and it's hollow. You cannot put this in a 400, and you can't put the 400 in this. Okay. And we have another bolt here that's hollow. Actually, this is an aluminum bolt. You can snap the head off of it real easy if you ain't careful how you're torquing it up. Of course, we got all our check balls there. -1.
Good idea.
Almost got Miss Teresa really good there.
Oh, I'm sure they saw that string.
That was big, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. I even seen it. Woo.
Yeah, I know.
That would have made a mess if it had hit you. I'd say all these bolts down through here are going to get fluid in the cavity of the hole right here. All the ones on the top, you never see it, so that's why you always want to double seal these bolts. This O-ring does work, but I like to double seal it. That way I know that I will never get a leak through here. Because this leak here could even be pressurizing that bolt hole a little bit, just to where it's at. So I don't know how in depth they got on when they rebuilt this, so we're going to go all the way down to the bottom of it for sure. You have this little piece right here that sets in that hole. That's in that hole right there. Oh, there it is, guys. There's no sealing rings on there. That's a big problem. Actually, there's no thrust washer. Did I lose a thrust washer? Okay.
No.
So far, we have no sealing rings here, and the thrust washer is totally missing. So I don't know where that dude could be. We're going to have to...
It wasn't there.
Wasn't there.
It was not there.
Let me look at something else real quick. Critical areas to here. Also, when you do a pump, if you have to replace this pump and you have a rear cooler line lube circuit where the cooler line's at the rear of the case, and you take your pump apart, it better have that slot in it. See that little slot? Mm-hmm. It better have that. That's how you can identify a rear lube pump. Now they do have a kit that you can buy that you can put in the earlier model pumps that'll convert it over to a rear lube pump that you can buy. Say the pump gears, they're wore pretty good too, see, so. you want this pump to be good. Let me tell you, this pump can be very expensive, and the pump looks really, really nice. Bushing, like I said, I don't know how in depth they went on this unit, but sorry about that. Okay, I did notice too, this bearing's gone.
I was noticing that too.
You notice that too?
Yeah.
So we got a few things missing, which I have all that stuff here. Now this set of sealing rings right here, you don't want to cut them at all. This is actually moves the vehicle forward in the forward drum. You can see this right here where the bushing's been running. I don't feel anything, but that could just probably be Scotch-Brite'd up really good. But if you notice here, this bushing right here is stuck to this shaft. If you look, where am I looking at? That's
Did it come out of there? Or is it something that might have been left on?
what they do? Yeah, because the bushings are in there. What did they do? How did he do all that?
Could he have left that on and not realized?
There it is.
Yeah, but it's not
I'm
that.
losing my mind. No, he left it on there because what it did, it just pushed it was the stator bushing, see, and it just shoved it back. And what it did was, you can see here where it started cutting the drum, the engine brake drum. See that right there?
Mm-hmm.
So it was on the shaft. So when he stuck it all together, it just shoved it back far enough and it gave it enough room. Because that's the stator bushing.
Right. So he left the old one. Okay.
Something. This bushing spun in the pump, and that's why this has a new pump, or another pump, is what I'm thinking. Because the bushing's there, the bushing's here, and now we have two stator bushings.
Correct.
So, okay, we're getting somewhere.
Okay.
We want to look at the overdrive planet, make sure everything looks good in here where your clutch runs. You have a roller clutch, see here. It'll spin one way and lock the other when it's on your drum. But you want to make sure there ain't pitting or anything like that, any wobbling of the gears, pins turn purple or anything crazy. This drum, you always want to look at the clutch, of course, but you want to look at this gear. This little tiny gear takes a load like crazy. So you want to look on the back side of the gear and on the front side of the gear, because 90% of these I replace. And you'll look for pitting or anything like that. Of course, you'll replace the bushings and pistons if you don't have to replace the drum. But I'll clean it up and look at it better and see what it looks like. We have our overrun clutch here. Like I said, these seals, they do take installers to put these on. Okay. A little tool, I have tools over there that does that for me. And you have your gasket. Try to keep all my stuff together. I'm probably just going to go ahead and order a whole nother gasket set for this in case something's messed up or something's missing. We have our red line clutches, what you talked about in our choline steels. It's kind of weird, these are new. These have to be used. These can't be new, freshly put in now, because the choline steel's got too much wear on them for not driving it any. So, but then you have this piece here that very seldom people take apart, but I do. I have to show a video on how to put this back together, because this can be a bear to put this together, but I enjoy it. Okay, you have a seal here. You have a seal here. When you put this back together, you have to get that seal in, then you have to flip it, and then you have to get that seal in, work it, spin it, it'll fall down on there, and then you can take I use a 4L60E shell, set it on the shell, set this on there, and then put your snapper in it. Just kind of you take a Phillips screwdriver and put them in each hole, push on it, and work it around like that. Those seals, that's a really short lip seal too, so you want to make sure you replace them. And then you have your forward drum here. You have another bushing here, and there should have been a bearing here that's gone. And then of course you have these two seals that set down in this drum right here and seal that shaft to that forward drum. So if you blow air through here, it's going to come out here and apply that clutch. Okay. Have a nice hardened hub here. Listen. The cheap ones go thud thud. This goes ring ring like a bell. So it's got a good hub there. Of course, we have some new clutches. Clutches again, choline steels. Like I say, these look like they got miles on them. Then we have our wave for a forward engagement. We do race car or something like that. We'll leave this wave out and stack another steel. Especially if we got a high stall converter or something like that, you know, it's still, you won't feel the harsh engagement. But if you leave it out in a normal daily driver with a stock torque converter, you're going to feel it go into gear. Okay. And then you want to look down in here. This is real critical because if this bushing gets wear, this shaft rubs right in here. And when it does, it wipes out these sealing grooves, or it puts sealing grooves wear down in here. And the only way to know is to get this drum cleaned up, get some glasses on, and get in there and look for wear. You can see the hole that applies the fluid right here, and then the sealing ring touches here and then down in here. So these cannot be bad. Okay. Then we have our high gear clutch there, high reverse clutch. We have our engine braking band. We do have this should be a sprag here, not a roller clutch. This is a spiral wrap ring here. It locks because this ring's capable of coming off at high RPM. So they make it a spiral and it locks. It has these little locks on. I'll show you. You see that lock right there. Sometimes you got to spin it and get the lock right here in this groove. See that little groove? Mm-hmm. You get that lock in there, then it'll come out of it. There you go. See that right there? Mm-hmm. There's a couple of them around there, and they lock into the bottom one. See, that locks into there. Mm-hmm. That little hole. You have your sprag. This is a sprag. That's a roller clutch. These do the exact same thing. They spin one way and lock the other. You want to look at this drum right here for any type of chatter marks where that sprag has been locking. Look for any wear. Anything like that. If it's got wear, chunk it. Get you a new sprag. Also, you want to look here for any chatter marks. Now they do make two different thicknesses of these. The 400 looks identical, but it's a 3 clutch. 4L80E is wider for a 4 clutch. And this sprag goes in a certain way because it has to spin one way and lock. If you put it in backwards, it'll spin the wrong way and lock the wrong way. You want to look down in here for sealing ring wear. And we got wear like crazy. See that right here? Mm-hmm. So even if this was good, if this is bad, this drum's trash. So we're going to need a drum on this one. And of course, here we go again. We got our choline steels and clutches, and we do have a wave for 3rd gear. Now, if you leave this wave out, you're going to get a firmer 3rd gear engagement, but you're also going to get a harsh reverse. A very harsh reverse. So, but if you got a stall converter, you're not going to feel it. Okay? But you can firm up 3rd and leave the wave in, and it still works. You know, we talked about front and rear lube. This unit here, see how that shaft's solid? There's no oil can go down the center of it. Well, how do we get oil back and forth? Is how we do it is through the bushings. They're grooved. So oil travels through the bushing grooves and around the shaft from front to rear. Now the 400 bushing is a solid bushing with no grooves. It'll fit right in here. If you put it in there, you just shut off lube oil right here. And whatever's in back there is going to die. Excuse me, it'll be forward. So you'll be in big, big trouble. Now you can see here we have our 4 clutches. We do have some wear already. Or is that just yeah, that's wear. Oh, it already burned that. Start burning that one up. Like I said, I don't know what's going on. We do have a small wave here. I still, even in a race car application on a 4L80E, I like to leave this wave in there and still do a 4 clutch, because even with this wave in there, you can make this tranny hit so hard in second gear, you'll think you left the wave out. But by leaving the wave in there, it's a lot easier on this sprag assembly right here, because this is going the opposite direction, and when it hits second gear, this has to lock. So the harder you hit second gear, the harder it jams on this sprag here. So I like to leave the wave in there. That way, it's not much of a cushion, but it keeps it from knocking dents in your drum and in here. And then we have our, get that out of there, our center support down here. Okay, now this is the center support snap ring that holds it in the case. This is a bevel snap ring. It's flat on this side, bevel on this side. I like to stick the opening over here. I never like to stick it over in here. If you stick it over in there, these can break off right here. So it's better to put the opening over here and leave this solid through here. They make a kit, if you're doing a big race car application, they make a kit to where you can leave this band out and hook your, it's got a kit that sets on this pin right here, and you bolt it in there through the servo hole here that actually holds on that snap ring right here on here. It holds that, pushes down on it to keep it from breaking. So. Okay, we do have our brass washer here, sits in there. We also have a bearing that looks just like this, but it'll actually set down on here just like that, and then that lip sits in here. Okay, just kind of show you what that looks like. Now also, if you notice, this sun gear has these grooves in here that go all the way through. That's so oil can travel down the outside of that gear, see? A 400 sun gear will fit right in there with no slices in it like that. And if you put a 400 sun gear in there, you're in trouble. You just blocked off lubrication oil. You want to look at this sun gear and make sure it doesn't look bad. And this does look bad. It's got a lot of wear on it. Of course, you have your center support. They put new sealing rings on here, but if you notice down here that this drum right here has been rubbing right here. See that? Mm-hmm. And that's why this drum is wore out right in here, because it's been rubbing. And that could have happened I don't know how far they drove it, if they when they did everything, because you remember they left the thrust washer off of the pump, so everything is flopping around. The clearances is 250 thousandths off. I mean, this stuff is capable. This drum is capable of leaning. It needs to be tucked in with everything with the right clearance. So once that was left out, we had major issues.
And then there was another bushing that was still stuck on that
Yep,
shaft.
the bushing was there. The bearings left out. This support needs to be replaced. So we put a new bushing in here. Like you got another roller clutch here. See this one here? That runs on here, so you want to make sure this is good. Scotch-Brite it up if it is good. But since this drum is center support's bad, we're going to throw it away. So far we're looking at the center support, the high gear drum. I'm going to look at the forward drum and see if we got wear in the sealing ring area here. What else are we looking for? Oh, this drum here possibly too. So let's get a little further. Now if you look down in here, we have a snap ring that sets down in the case for your support to set on. If you leave it out, this is going to move back and forth. You do not want to leave it out. And then here we have our reverse band. And of course it is totally smoked. There ain't nothing left of it. But when your reverse band looks like that, you want to come over here and see what this drum looks like. Luckily he didn't smoke this drum. You want to make sure it looks good here, because there's a thrust washer that runs right here. Actually, I don't see the thrust washer.
No, I didn't either.
So this thrust washer right here is missing. That drum runs
Yeah,
totally
right.
gone. See, I don't see it nowhere. So we're missing a thrust washer here. You can see here where your output speed sensor counts that, what I was showing you, Teresa, when I was spinning it. Now they did take and put rollerize the back of it and put a shim and stuff in here. But I don't know how, they probably just put it together, not checking the clearances because they didn't know how to physically do it. And I guarantee they had a lot of clearance back in there. Now they did put a Sonex no walk bushing back here, it looks like. That this sets around and centers it in the case, okay? Normally there would be a 3-tab washer that actually it's a backing washer. It sets down in the case, and then your thrust washer physically sets on here that goes against the race down there. So, but they put this in there. But once that washer was left out, then it had tons of clearance. You couldn't have made up anywhere. Have a bushing here. Now look at your rear planet. Make sure none of the pins are purple. None of them are walking. This drum here, I forgot to mention. These pins here, we always TIG weld here because these pins are bad about walking out, getting into the washer. So that just makes it knowing that you don't have an issue there. And then of course we have this rear ring gear and stuff for the rear planet. How I can show you some more holes that are so critical that if you put the wrong stuff in here, because the 400 stuff will fit in here and a early 4L80E stuff will fit in here. There's some more of them external lube holes. They make an early 4L80 piece just like this with no holes. They make a 400 piece just like this with no holes. So swapping parts around is where you get into trouble. You just want to make sure, you notice this shaft here is solid. When you get these in here, you almost don't need to buy a billet shaft because these are solid, but if you get the earlier that are hollow, we always put a billet shaft in them, or you do a 400 tranny or something like that. So, well guys, there's just a lot of things wrong with this unit. Actually, there it is. How it flipped over there, I don't have a clue.
I don't either.
But anyway, that's the 4-tab washer. You can see it right there. I don't know how that got flipped over there. But anyway, support, high reverse drum, the coast clutch drum, pump gears, a complete gasket set, reverse band. Just basically go through this thing and make it nice again. I think we can use the converter back in and try to save the gentleman some money. That area, and just another day, huh, Teresa? And it's kind of crazy. But anyway, we want people to learn. We want people to do this stuff because basically that's why we're putting these videos out anyway, so people can learn. You're going to make a mistake. I'm telling you, it's so easy to make a mistake. Lay a part down over here and you flipped it over and didn't realize you flipped it over when you laid it down.
Or somebody interrupted you and then you didn't realize what was, I mean, all kinds of stuff can happen.
Teresa, you've seen a lot since we've been doing this, haven't you? That we run into.
Worth of, it's craziness.
That's why we started putting all these not build videos, but these teardown videos and explaining to everybody how this stuff works and stuff, because it's not that hard to do. It's just take your time.
And understanding how each piece works with each piece
understanding
and what
it,
causes what. Yeah, there's really still a lot to it.
Just like this gentleman, you know, he put it together. He thought he did 100% right, and it has no reverse. Well, he's going, man, what do I do? What's reverse? What's reverse in this?
Right, exactly.
Right, how's it work?
Exactly.
Big deal.
But, I mean, did we ever come to a decisive...
too much wrong.
Right, exactly.
Too much wrong.
Yeah.
So we'll call the customer, get it right with him, and talk to him, and get this thing built back. And I'm going to go drive me a 63 Star Chief.
Neighbor might want to go with you. Might have to catch Miss Nebbit. She likes watching that stuff.
We have a she's probably 87, 88 years old.
Yeah.
That loves to sit out on her porch and just watch me drive these older cars and stuff up and down the street. And she's going to catch me someday and say, hey, Richard, I want to go for a ride.
Yes, exactly.
For sure. Well, hey, we want to thank you guys for watching. Sorry it took us so long to get videos going again. We just had to get away and get a little bit of family time going and stuff like that. But we really appreciate y'all watching. Teresa, we want to thank you for recording. And Annie's always hanging out, guys. Y'all have a fabulous day.